Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection, a sense of belonging, and community, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young, licensed clinical social worker. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. This is a weekly podcast where we explore how sensitivity weaves itself into our lives. We talk about the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. Sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Hey there. This is bonus episode 34, and I wanted to do an episode as a follow-up to some of the episodes that I did over the holidays, specifically episodes 23 and 24 when my kids were home for the 9-day holiday break for Thanksgiving and how hard it was for me. So I wanted to provide an update for you. If you want to refer back to those episodes, 23 was called How to Care for Ourselves When We're Feeling Depleted, and these are bonus episodes, and bonus episode 24, Working Together and Respecting Different Needs and Expectations. So if you haven't listened to the podcast before, you don't have to be a highly sensitive person. I've got twin boys who went off to college in August, and for Thanksgiving, they both came home. So the boys have had separate rooms since they were very young. It's not an option for them to share a room. And once the boys went off to college, I took over one of the boys' rooms. I use it for podcasting. It's my office. I see online clients in his room. Before we had kids, this was my room. And then when we thought we were having just one baby, we thought we would put the one baby in. We had a dinette. And then when we found out we were having twins, I lost my room. The baby bug hit me and I changed my mind, and then we had twins. So anyways, over Thanksgiving break, one of my sons brought his roommate home for the 9-day break. My other son had his girlfriend who stayed here for a few days. We went from being just my husband and myself to 6 of us, and then we had other kids here, kids spending the night, kids sleeping on the couch. I lost my shirt on Thanksgiving. I don't swear on this podcast, so just take out the orange shirt and you can see what I lost. There is a bonus episode on that. The point is, the 9-day break, notice how I keep saying 9 days because I'm very aware of how long it was. It was really stressful for me. I obviously let my son have his room back. So I had to move my podcasting equipment from room to room. Without going into too much detail, because we have a big house, our internet doesn't go from the front of the house to the back of the house. So I was able to use my home office that I see clients in for some work, but there's no internet connection back there. I had to use the laundry room for an online client. I had to use my mom's place, which is attached to us, for a podcast interview. There really just wasn't a dedicated space where I could set up my equipment and be set up. Things were constantly being shuffled around. I'm not super organized, and so having to keep my stuff in a box and move it from place to place. I'm a nester. I like being settled. I like being set up. And so, how did we know? We had just sent our kids off to college. It was the first time that we had them back home for an extended amount of time. So there was really no way of knowing what it was going to be like. And it really gave me a chance to start seeing what my needs are as a highly sensitive person. Because I live with my husband and my 2 boys, I really had just always thought that it was just about me being the only female in the house because I'm not into a lot of the things that they are. But this was really the first time that I got a chance to see that this is really about my needs as a highly sensitive person. The way our house is set up, it's a pretty open house. And so if all the boys are here and they're watching sports in the living room, or they've got friends over and they're watching movies, the volume of the TV is difficult for me. Generally, what they watch on TV, either I'm not interested in it or it's just something that's upsetting to me because they like gory, scary, testosterone-filled boy stuff. And as I was doing these podcasts, especially episode 23, I talked about how it was my responsibility to take care of myself. And of course, as highly sensitive people, we do need to take care of ourselves and our needs. But Jacqueline Strickland, who runs the Highly Sensitive Person Retreats, communicated with me and reminded me that really we are a community here in our family and that we need to work together to make sure that everybody gets their needs met. And one of my sons has always needed more space. That's why my kids had separate bedrooms at a really early age. And the rule in our family was whoever needs the most space gets it. And I really had an opportunity to see how I was not applying that to myself. It's highly sensitive people were already 20% of the population. And I hadn't even realized that I was recreating that sense of being unique in my family. I'm 25% of our male population in my household and really had attributed it to being the only female in the household. So with this new reframe, I really looked differently because at the time I did a recording and knew that they'd be home for 4 or 5 weeks over winter break. I was dreading it. I was so irritable and depleted and frustrated and just really not my best self over this Thanksgiving break. I really wondered, how the heck am I going to survive over winter break? And even worse, what am I going to do in the summertime? So what I did is I talked to the boys ahead of time and we did some planning. And in the beginning, one of my sons really socially loves having kids spend the night. And through high school, our place was kind of the place where kids would come and spend the night. And we loved having the boys have their friends over. And what I did was I didn't say yes all the time. The first couple nights he was home, we had kids in the living room, and then he wanted to have friends spend the night. And I thought, I really need some time to myself in the morning. If the kids are in the living room, we can't really open up the house in the morning. And so I said no. And we figured out ways that it would work if his friends wanted to come over after we went to bed. Our bedroom's in the back of the house and we don't hear the boys. So there were workarounds, and it meant setting limits. It didn't mean he couldn't have anybody spend the night, but it meant that we also made it work so that we both won. It was also really cool. I've talked about play a lot on this podcast, and we took some games out, and my kids would have their friends over and we would sit around and play games. One of the times I told my son, I said, I really want to play a game tonight. And he really encouraged me to get a game, and we brought it out. And then the game was on the table. So when the boys had friends over, they would be like, hey, let's play a game. And so as a family with our kids and their friends, we would sit around and play games. It was really lovely. One of the workarounds that we had thought about was maybe putting one of my sons, Josh, it's his room that I work in. We thought about putting him out in the garage, which we decided to call the North Wing. So the plan was to keep all of his stuff in his room, and then in the garage, we set him up with a mattress and the things that he would need just to spend the night in there, and then in the morning he would come back in. He was working pretty much full-time over the break. As it turns out, there was something out there in the garage that didn't work for him, and so he was having some allergic reactions. Initially, he told us that he didn't want to sleep on the couch, and then he asked if he could sleep on the couch, which was fine. He did sleep in his room a couple times. The challenge was that I had scheduled a podcast interview for that morning, so I had to wake him up and ask him to move. So again, this is just all about learning about logistics and what's going to work for the next time they come home. I'm already thinking about for summer that he can sleep in his room. I'm not going to schedule any podcast interviews on the weekend. I'll do them during the week while he's working. And then on the weekends, I can pull my laptop out of the bedroom and bring it where I can work. I don't see clients on the weekends. So it's really about being willing to be flexible and figure out what works and know that we can keep making adjustments as we need to. One of the mornings, it was kind of a bummer that Josh was in his room and I needed to print something out before he had to get up for work. My friend Laura, who lives a couple blocks away, needed something printed out, and the printer was in Josh's room. So I had to come in and wake him up. And that night, Josh had been sleeping on the couch, but my son Daniel brought friends over to spend the night. So they kicked Josh off the couch and sent him to his room. And then I came in and woke him up. It's imperfect, and we figured out how to manage. But I really had been so fearful about how having them home for this month was going to be after that really stressful 9 days. It was such a different experience. It did not have any of that sense of depletion or irritability or feeling frustrated. I mean, we have frustrations because we're a family and we've got kidults, but that really has nothing to do with this issue of being a highly sensitive person and trying to figure out how to navigate the space issue. So I didn't lose my shirt. The truth is, as Josh was getting ready to go back to school, oh my gosh, I felt so much sadness after having him here and just being accustomed to having him around. And the day he left for school, man, I cried a couple times. It was sad. Then my other son left a few days after Josh did. Daniel left. And it was sad too. Again, we went from 2 to 4, back to 2. But what was so different is we really communicated this time about what was going to work for everybody. We shifted, we pivoted. It wasn't perfect, but it was so different than the experience that I had at Thanksgiving. And we're all learning. The boys are becoming independent young men. My husband and I are adjusting to being empty nesters and being full housers, then being back to empty nesters. We're teaching our boys how to be more sensitive and how to be responsive to other people's needs. How important is that as an adult? So the thought that I want to leave you with is, when we honor our needs as highly sensitive people and we work together as a community, it is possible to have our needs met. We don't have to feel like we're the ones that are in the minority. We don't have to feel like something is wrong with us when we approach this as we are here in a community and we need to figure out what works for everybody. We really can get our needs met. I hope you found this helpful. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. If you want to get any information about the show, the easiest thing to do is to go to unapologeticallysensitive.com. You can find the episode you're interested in and click on it, and the show notes will be there. If you want to get in touch with me, my email address is there as well. We have a Facebook community by the same name, Unapologetically Sensitive. I would love to have you join. It's a place where I'm hoping that we can connect. I can get to know you and get a sense of what content you're looking for, how I can help you and be of service. Please remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.